Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
So Shri Anish ji is a spiritual teacher, mentor, author, public speaker, and a visionary. After spending many years in the corporate world, his deep desire to know the higher truth and truth about self and the world took him to Himalayas. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And where he found the past of lasting love, peace, and bliss, I have no doubt about it. He shares and touches people's lives through his speeches and public connect. Living in Himalayan city of Dharamshala, he has initiated a spiritual community of seekers called Sadhu Sangh. His book, Let the Mud Settle, has been just published. And it's our pleasure, sir, to have you here today. And we can begin with your speech. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Manisha. Thanks for the lovely introduction. As you can make out, from the clothes I'm wearing, it's very, very cold in the Himalayas right now. Extremely cold. So, Manisha and all the attendees, whosoever is watching this, I thought today I'll briefly talk about awakening spiritual power in youth for nation building. That's the theme. I thought we should spend about 15 minutes exploring this.
Yes.
There's some very interesting things happening in India right now, and I think these things are going to happen. At least this data is valid for next 1 decade. So we have a window of about 10 years to make a great shift, and I'll explain why I'm saying that. By definition, when we say youth, it is about age group from 18 to 29. This is the age group where our energies are most heightened. Our, if I use the word of Hindi, urja, our urja is at the optimum flow. Our urja is at optimum flow. This is the great golden window if any change needs to happen. This age of youth, 18 to 29. Having said that, if you look at India's demographic, we are in I would say, the best position in the world right now, because 22% of India's population is youth as we speak today. This demographic is going to change in next 10 years. There'll be our average age would move from 28 to 31. That's the median age of India right now. If I look at the numbers, we're talking about 261 million people, youth in this age group. That's a huge number. That's more than the population of Pakistan, FYI. So more than the population of Pakistan is our youth in this country right now. We call it demographic dividend because we can make something great out of this. If you look at India now, our brand value has always been wisdom. Our brand value is never IT or anything, though we are making a lot of progress in other fields. But the core brand value of India has always been wisdom, and I'm talking from last 10,000 years. Our engineering, our politics, our culture, our tradition, whatever success this tradition achieved was based on the wisdom as a thread, as a root for our glorious past, if I may use that word. Now, if you look at the youth today, and we do a lot of work with youth, and I'm personally very passionate about youth, because I deeply remember when I was in that age, the things that I went through. If you look at the youth today, and in my personal interaction with the youth, I found out two key issues, two key things where I think we are failing them. And I'm using this phrase, we who are now moved beyond the youth age, we have a sense of we have a responsibility for the youth, but I think we are failing them majorly. Why I'm saying that? Two key issues I see in the youth today. One, there is a deep lack in the sense of belonging. I'll repeat. There's a deep lack our youth feels as a sense of belonging. They don't feel a sense of belonging where they are. I have interacted with the youth in different cities, small towns, villages, even metros. The youth in metros don't feel they belong to the metros, they want to be out of India. The youth in small towns don't feel they belong to the small towns, they want to be in the metros. The youth in the village They feel they don't belong to the village, they want to move to the towns. So, if you see the sense of belonging from a spiritual dimension, if you don't have the sense of belonging, it's a very dangerous phase, because sense of belonging creates a certain root within you. If you don't have sense of belonging, let's say if I'm living on this planet Earth and I don't have a sense of belonging on this earth, I feel an outsider here. Let's say if that's the case, then I will never be rooted with this Mati, with this Bhumi, with this earth. I will never develop deep roots wherever I am. And if you look at a tree, we need deep roots to nourish us, to build a strong balances in us, and to even touch the sky. A tree can touch the sky only if the tree has a very deep, strong roots. So the sense of belonging. Today's youth does not feel this sense of belonging, unfortunately. Number two, lack of focus or vision, which means, if I interpret it, is the path ahead. If you talk to an average youth, any town, any city, most of them don't have a very clear cut path ahead for their own personal life. Forget about the collective life. Even for their personal life, there's a strong lack of vision that our youth has. Now, is this the problem of the youth? I'm asking. No. I think we as a culture are failing our youth. And look at the demographics that I shared with you earlier. The sense of belonging comes, there are three elements now I'm going to talk about. I talked about two issues with the youth: sense of belonging, lack of sense of belonging, and lack of vision, which is path ahead. Two broad issues. Now, I categorize these two broad issues into three sub verticals. There's something called wisdom, there's something called will, there's something called action. Wisdom, will, action. If you look at any great things which ever happens, or which has ever happened on this earth, or which has ever happened in your own personal life, you will see the root of that is always in the wisdom, the deeper understanding that you've got. From the wisdom comes will, Ichha Shakti, to do something. From the Ichha Shakti, which is the will, the action, the karma comes out. Let's say if we remove wisdom out of it, I have a will to do something, Ichha Shakti, and I'm working on that Ichha Shakti, but I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. If I'm doing something which is creative for the society or destructive for the society. So it must be rooted in the wisdom first. So three pillars: wisdom, will, and action. Now, when I say I feel we are failing our youth, why do I say that? Why do I feel that? You see, India, as I said, is a wisdom culture. Wisdom is the first parameter. Wisdom is the first goal that in this culture we created. We called it, we can call it spirituality, moksha, liberation, dharma, anything, Sanatan dharma, we can call it anything. But this is just not the highest wisdom. We are also talking about the day-to-day wisdom. Now, the first point here is we're failing our youth because we're not bringing that wisdom, the wisdom of our ancient past, the wisdom that made this country as Sone ki Chidiya. We've not been able to bring that wisdom to our youth. We've not been able to connect our youth with that wisdom. We're somehow following some other models of growth and development, popularly known as Western model of growth and development, but we're not looking at our own wisdom. And we're not passing it down to our youth. A wisdom that has made sure that our civilization has survived for 10,000 years. Friends, do you know that we are the only longest surviving civilization in the world right now? There were other old civilizations like Mayans, like Aztecs, like the great Romans, but all those civilizations are gone. They're not there anymore. Hindustan, this Indus Valley, this civilization is the oldest surviving civilization. But have we got our lessons from this ancient civilization, our ancient wisdom? Have we taken the lessons from them and transported or shared or educated our youth about that? Probably no. We called ourselves Sone Ki Chidiya. The whole world called us Sone Ki Chidiya. Not just because of the material wealth which this nation had, but because of the spiritual wisdom, the wealth of spiritual wisdom which this country had. That is what made us Sone Ki Chidiya. Are we passing this to our youth? Are we passing these chapters from the glorious past to our youth? Are we making sure that we are inspiring them enough? We are igniting a sense of pride in the bhumi, in the culture in which they are born. If you're not doing that, so we're failing them from wisdom perspective, which was the first principle. The second principle, will, ichha shakti. You develop the will to do something when you see a lot of inspirational model around you. That's the second issue. Are we creating great spiritual examples around our youth so that they become interested in knowing this wisdom culture, knowing their own self deeply? Wisdom culture is just not about reading the scriptures, it's about knowing who you are. The great story of Shwet Ketu. Let's not go into that. But the culture, the Shwet Ketu, this is the culture of Shwet Ketu, where a small boy is sent on the self-discovery path. Because we understood, we knew that if that is created as the base, then this child, this youth, will create a golden future for himself and for the entire nation and for the entire humanity. So are we creating enough role models? Are we using our technology today? The strength that this nation has built over the last 2-3 decades, the tech strength, are we using this tech strength to bring the stories from our ancient past, shrutis from our ancient past, create role models and inspire the youth? Because you see, remember when we all were youth, or if there are youth in this session right now, look at it. When we are in the age group of, let's say, 18 and 29, we're usually outward driven. We create our role models outside. We look into the media and create our role models. We are outward driven. That's how nature is. Can we not create great spiritual models, leaders, youthful leaders, successful youthful leaders which are rooted in spirituality, like the great Vivekananda? Can we not create few hundred Vivekanandas on this earth again, to inspire the youth, to give the right direction to the youth? Think about it. The third pillar, remember I talked about wisdom, will, and action. Now I'm going into the action mode. An action happens when we are able to create the right ecosystem. We call it the right bhumi, the right soil. I think we're failing our youth because we've also not been able to create the right spiritual soil, the right spiritual ecosystem for the youth, the right dharmic ecosystem for the youth. And if that is not there, if we've not done that for them and for ourselves, then how do we expect them to, do the nation building, become the world leaders, be successful in life, be happy and wise? How will that happen? Think about it. I wanted to share these questions with you. And I think one of the fundamental things is we're not telling enough stories to our youth. We're not sharing enough stories. We are the sabhyata, the culture of shrutis. But I don't see, even, I visit IIMs and IITs and give talks and do sessions with them. I don't see most of the teachers not sharing, stories from the ancient heritage, ancient past with our youth, unfortunately. We're not inspiring them in the right direction, unfortunately. And to create this youth power, to create spiritual awakening in the youth, which was the vision of Vivekananda, which is also my vision. That's the reason I do so much work with the youth now. I think we need to focus on 3-4 fundamental things here. Physical health of the youth, psychological health of the youth, social connect of the youth, third, connect with the nature for the youth, fourth, sense of belonging where they are, 5, sense of purpose for them. If I further divide it into actionables, I thought I'll leave you with the actionables today. If I further divide into actionables, 1, what we must do, I'm talking about that. Let's create programs for the youth, specifically youth centric, which are rooted in the ancient wisdom of Dharma. Hmm? Number one. Number two, let's create an ecosystem for the youth, which is again based on on the ancient wisdom, but with a lot of contemporary view around it. Because if you talk to the youth using the language which is 500-year old, they will not connect. So we need to contemporize the language that we use with them. Third, I think we must create a lot of youth clubs, and each youth club must be headed by a spiritual mentor. The mentor which will handhold the youth for all matters related to life, and that's what spirituality is all about. Yeah, so that's number three. Number four, I thought we must also introduce and prepare our youth for entrepreneurship, socially or conscious businesses, because the way the world has built up, I think we can't be detached from the economy today. We need to inspire and teach our youth about economics. However, we must do that as conscious business, prepare them for this conscious business entrepreneurship. Five, we must do a lot of focus on sports and creativity. Sports is something which keeps the the mind body connection alive and very agile. The mind body connection, the physical movement, the focus, the sharpness that one needs in the sports. And creativity is the other element which allows you to open your heart, express your emotions, create emotional well-being in one person. So we need to focus on these two things, sports and creativity. And lastly, we must inspire our youth to do a lot of small acts of selflessness so that their view starts to expand. They're able to look beyond themselves when they do small acts of seva, small acts of selfless giving, let's say. Yeah. So build their bodies and also train them, teach them, inspire them, motivate them to enter into doing small acts of seva. This is how the spiritual seeds in our youth will be sown. And this is the work that we are doing in our own capacity. And I encourage all of you across the world, wherever you are, to think about these points, ponder over it. And this is extremely important. This is the generation of the youth which is going to create a spiritual future for this whole earth. And this earth needs right now a spiritual awakening. Youth is the powerhouse which will create that. Yeah. And we as elders, if I can use that word in whichever way, our job is to allow the bhumi, the right soil, to be created for this. Yeah, I thought I'll share these words with you. Hope it makes sense. Hope it inspires you to think about this and work towards this. And if you want to work towards this and collaborate, I'll be more than happy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Manisha.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We are indeed showered with the ancient Indian wisdom today. It's a grand opening to today's talk. I feel having you here, sir. And you're so right. Yeah, the youth really needs to ground in this soil. They need to be really proud about being an Indian. And how to bring that awakening. So, is there a way, sir, that the youth from anywhere in India can connect to the sadhu sang that you have?
Yes, Manisha, we now are doing a lot of specific programs for the youth, and soon we'll enter into the festival modes or creating a lot of platforms for the youth to engage with us. But right now, if youths want to engage with us, our website is very simple: sadho sadho.org. Just
Yeah.
drop an email, and somebody from our team will get in touch.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you already have some programs curated
Yes,
for youth so
yes,
that they can involve in whatever way possible with you. Because I'm sure if they get involved slowly and gradually, they'll get into the whole idea that you're talking about. And that will definitely give them a chance to get in connect with the ancient Indian wisdom. And there
absolutely.
can nothing be better than this. So fantastic, sir. Thank you so much. We
Thank
are
you.
honored indeed. And I
Thank
would
you.
just like to do a small formality of granting a certificate, just an acknowledgement. Yeah. Sorry, sir, there's a little of problem with the thing, and we just
Never mind. Manisha, you can do that later also. Don't worry about this. Um, I receive your bhav. Uh, so we could do the formality later because I think there are other speakers and maybe listeners waiting. So
That's really, really kind of you, sir. Thank you so
yes,
much. So yeah, I will just send across the
sure.
certificate to you,
Not
sir.
a problem.
Thank you.
Not a
Thank you
problem.
so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All the best,
Thank you.
Manisha. Thank you.
Thank you.